Maxine. Okay. All right, gentlemen. Good evening, brothers. Good evening, Maxine.
Bless, bless.
Enough blessing your way. I want to say good evening to the listeners and welcome everyone to another Sunday evening at the Waterhouse Roundtable Forum. Folks, there's some interesting development in Jamaica, and I'm wondering if you are following the news. We see where the High Court refused to grant Prime Minister Holness the declaration that he sought. The court reject his thing, but yet still give him an opportunity to go before the court at one more time to have them look at the documents and whether or not the investigation was done properly. In another instant, we hear the Prime Minister calling gang members Jingbang. I don't know who advised him along that term, but what is clear, it seems like the noose is tightening around Holness' neck, and I don't know how they're going to get out of this situation because calling people Jingbang is not going to build up the support for the Jamaica Labour Party. Nor do I think the High Court is going to side with him in this matter around the Integrity Commission report. So I want to talk about that, get your feedback on that. And that is something which I think should be of concern to everyone because it seemed like the Prime Minister is becoming more desperate. I might be wrong, but calling people Jingbang is a sign of desperation in my view. And I would like to hear what the others think. What's your take on the news and what happened with the court with Holness? So, Patrick, you are a very critical person. I sent you something in the past as to the newspaper article, and I'm not sure if you were able to look at it. You know, so can we start with Patrick? Give us his take on what's happening. If he was able to read any of the articles.
That's the article. Let me see.
I sent this article about the court. I sent you an article about what's happening in Waterhouse with the Sandy Gully
Oh yeah.
and all that stuff. Yeah. So the all this thing before the court. What's your take? What's your take on it? Mine is that he's becoming desperate. I don't know what the others think, and I would love to hear that.
Well, the thing the matter is that he was already desperate because he felt emboldened to after that terrible report about him. He felt emboldened to take it to the courts as if he thought that there was anything good to come from that on his part. And of course, that was just outright short-sightedness because unless him lose his mind or something like that, but I can't situate him expecting to get any favorable result, right? Based on his actions, right? I think I said it before when the whole thing started with the integrity report that it is a clear sign of I don't want to say outright criminality, but it's a clear sign of intent to commit fraud. A clear sign because there is no what he's accused of doing doesn't follow any proper accounting procedure, and that in and of itself make it fraudulent. So, I'll just be nice about it and put it nicely for now. But that's my summary of it.
John, you were able to look at any of the articles?
No.
So you're not aware of what we're talking about then?
Yeah, man, I'm aware of it. I don't
Okay.
have to read all the details.
We only one eye we can see, no, John. Yeah. All right. So better, go on now.
Yes,
So what's your feedback?
Well, my recollection is that the term Jingbang is a term I recall as a youth. It's like a very negative, derogatory term towards the way the Prime Minister put that phrase was that they're after the Dons, but the Jingbang is who follow behind the Don. It's like the peons in the community or in the gangs. And that's a very, generally speaking, is a kind of derogatory term, a demeaning term about the urban youth, because that term seems to be addressing the youth themselves. So it's a derogatory term to my way of thinking. And I don't know if it means that he feels that he's losing grip, but it certainly is a derogatory term. And it's generally a term I would associate with, middle-class leadership. It's not a surprising way of speaking. As far as the court is concerned, I think it's not surprising that the court would have overruled his request to dismiss and rather pressure him to prove that the whole investigation was improperly, the body that was doing the investigation was improperly mandated. So the ball is in his court, technically, to show that the court is wrong or to show that he was right by making a request for dismissal. It's not clear that that's going to happen. In the meantime, it's being dragged out. And I think what we have in front of us is the potential for more hemorrhaging by the Jamaica Labour Party into the arms of a fairly inactive PNP. I mean, there's not much that the PNP has done or is doing in respect to either of these issues. I haven't seen any statement. And failure on the part of the Prime Minister can only give benefit objectively to the PNP in the context of where things are at. Those are my preliminary thoughts.
Maxine?
You're mute.
You're muted, Max.
Cool up there. It must be cool up there.
No, no, not really. I saw where in relation to the judicial review, that a judicial review allows the court to scrutinize processes used by a public authority to make decisions to determine whether they were fair and the decision is legal. So further into the article that I reviewed, it was the question, the court refrained from having any opinion on the
investigation
commission.
Yeah.
Right. They refused to be drawn into any such discourse, but they gave leave to for Holness to carry the information or his opinions to the court, which may not, it may not work in his favor, and it may, I don't know whose favor it's going to work in. I think it's not even just about him. It's about the law and the interpretation of the law. But in the meantime, I think last week we saw something related to another individual that is somehow caught up into this as well.
His business partner.
Yeah, his business partner, but the business partner is what? He's head of something, head of
UDC and
UDC,
housing trust. Yeah.
housing trust. But also what the court identified, or what was thrown up in the air, was what is really the policy between politicians and their corporate or business enterprises that has been, I guess, allowed up until now, and some amount of restrictions are being brought about by the oversight of the Integrity Commission. So it will be interesting, not just for Mr. Holness, but the whole political system, as to people who take up, positions that benefit their business, even though they may, try to describe, just by the nature of what your position is. You know what I mean? It would be, out of what to think that it's not going to benefit you. You understand? So it will, he's under scrutiny, and I know the man on the street, when it filters down, it doesn't look good, regardless of what the court or, these decisions are. There's definitely a perception in relation to, what's going on here. In relation to the Dons and the Jingbangs, well, I guess, we're in election mode. You know what I mean? So we don't, so name calling will be increasing, in the near future. Within music, of course, Don and Jingbang is part of our slang. Yeah, I use Jingbang to refer to people that, it's a crowd or people that I don't necessarily agree with how they deal with, the matters. So, for me, the dance and Jingbang is about electioneering, so on and so forth. So I don't know what the other side is going to do. I'm working with a Don myself, so you know what I mean?
Last.
Yeah,
A musical Don.
First of all, on the court issue, I don't think that the court issue was to get the whole objective of the court issue was to get justice for the Prime Minister. I think the objective of that move to the courts was to try to shut down the public discussion and the political criticisms around the issue. So the fact that the court really did not or dismiss the issue is not so much of importance, I don't think, to even Holness. What I see happening, though, is that the fact that he gets a chance to put the whole issue back in front of the court is showing him a lifeline when it comes to the upcoming elections. Because if he should put the thing back before the courts, it would continue to hold down the political discussions and the criticisms in public, which would benefit him going into the elections. If they can shut down public discussions around his issues relating to his finances, it's better for him going into the election. So I think the court still has shown him a lifeline. I don't know if he'll take it up, but that's how I look at it. When it comes to the Jingbang thing, I do have a problem with him calling criminals Jingbang. It's not a problem for me. The problem for me is that his view, as he expressed, was that there's only a few hardcore criminals, and what he's saying is hinting that if you get rid of this minority of hardcore criminals, the crime problem in Jamaica will be solved. That kind of thinking is leading to a kind of policing that we see going on right now in the country, where we see the police moving to a strategy of elimination because they feel, or because the government is putting forward this idea that it is only a handful of criminals. It means the police can shoot them out of existence. And it is around this kind of concept that the government is formulating its crime fighting strategy. And I think it's a wrong idea to believe that, okay, there's probably 20 hardcore criminals in a particular community, and once you kill all of them, then the Jingbangs, the followers, will run away. That's a wrong concept of what is happening in the criminal underworld in Jamaica, and it's a wrong policing strategy. But it seems like this is the direction that the JP government is going at this time.
Herb, you're in the security industry. You think using Jingbang is a good strategy? Can you let me hear what you think?
Let me just bring something to the fore. When a country leader uses derogatory term to refer to their citizens, it can be, damaging. It's disenfranchisement. It is insulting, and it's usually behavior showing a frustration and their failure to connect in the ways that they want to connect. And I can say some of the things that I have been looking at. Diversionary tactics. A leader might use derogatory language to divert attention from their own failures or controversies. Us versus them mentality. By using derogatory terms, a leader might be trying to create a sense of division between different groups within the country. Authoritarianism. In some cases, a leader might use derogatory language to assert their authority and dominance over their citizens. Of course, some people, they only understand when you use curse words, and they only respond when you use curse words. But in this case, I was never aware that Jingbang was actually a derogatory term, right? Strege, which is an old-fashioned term, I'm aware that was a derogatory term, right? The other B-man and all them other terms I know are derogatory terms. But to me, it's like Jingbang is like calling a man Jingles, right? As a nickname. Why you put that out there? um, a lack of empathy or understanding. Unfortunately, some leaders might simply not understand or care about the impact of their words on their citizens. And I think this is the case. He is talking down to certain classes of people, right? People that he's ignored for the longest while. People who now are asking questions about him, questioning his integrity. And he feels that they have no integrity or they don't have the standard needed to question him. So I refer to them as a in a more how can I say at a lower level to try and throw them off. But it's not going to work. These are your voters. This is the vote you need, right? As far as the court thing is concerned, the IC is not even opposing him going forward with this. The IC is saying the same thing everybody else is saying. The law is the law. They have followed the law. The findings are there. They just turned over some more names to the goodly Speaker of the House and the leader in the Senate, right? And they're not afraid of being challenged. They say, okay, let him go through the challenge, right? What he's doing is actually just wasting time on, and the fallacy here is that he's not paying the court costs. The cost is being paid by the taxpayers at Jamaica, right? So he can waste as much time as possible with the court, knowing that he's draining the pockets of the taxpayers.
Are you
To,
sure?
huh?
Are you sure? Because
Positive. I'm positive of that.
he's not paying.
He's not paying.
But the
He's
but
not.
but the thing in the court is a private matter involving him, not an official act. So why would the taxpayer ask to pay
Of
when
all
it's his
the
own private
conversations
business?
I've been following, he's not paying all of these costs out of his own pocket. And maybe we should get Mr. Hilton on here to explain why. But the bottom line is he's not paying. You know, political strategy. I don't think you use derogatory language to appeal to a specific base or constituency, even if it means alienating others. So, if that's his strategy, that he is alienating us or somebody else, um, maybe we just don't add up. The diaspora doesn't add up to any votes, so you don't care about the diaspora,
Or,
right?
or is it that he's not learning from history? Because when the uprising started in Libya and people were moving in from Benghazi, Gaddafi turned around and call them cockroaches and he's gonna kill them out, and that sort of stirred the fire
Yep.
more.
Yep.
So if he's looking at history, then he should realize that that expression only turned people against him.
The problem we have with Jamaica is Jamaicans turn the other cheek,
I,
right?
I'm not going to agree with that.
Well, you show me where Jamaicans have rioted, protested, and raised holy hell when a leader like Holness continued doing the stuff he's been doing. They
Have
have
you,
not said a word. They were waiting on us here in the diaspora to do the demonstrations.
well, it depends on how you define resistance, and demonstration. Before I go into that, Patrick, you were shaking your head while Herb was talking. You disagree with something he said. You're not in agreement with what he was saying.
No, generally I take Herb's point. I'm not quite sure what it was right now that
I think when I mentioned jingles
Yeah, the
versus
oh
jingles.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
Because I think as far as I'm concerned, that term is definitely a derogatory term. And
That's how I.
definitely
usually
Randy,
the term
define it for me, Patrick. I'd love to hear because I have
Which
not
one?
used that
Jingles
term.
or Jingbang?
Jingbang.
Oh,
Yeah, Jingbang
I
is just
agree.
it's a made up term, really. It doesn't refer to anything in particular, right? But it's definitely a derogatory term. It's not intended. In other words, it's a term used usually for what you'd consider as social rejects,
Yes.
right?
I noticed here in the audience, Kevin Wright is saying Jingbang is derogatory. It refers to the worst catch of fish in the sea.
Yeah,
Of course. Yeah.
it's a social reject. It's
Okay.
it's 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 the it's
But you
the
could
it's the
ask me
aspect of
that
society that we have no care for.
as a man grew up in the middle class. I
And
know that term exactly right. Patrick is correct. It's
yeah,
a word used to Jingbang is like people, discard and you're at the bottom of the dance. In the case, the way the prime minister is using it, that these are followers of dance. They're dispensable, useless followers of
but
people
here's
of importance.
here's the particular takeaway from that though, John, is that usually the term is directed at youngsters, youth,
Correct, youth,
right?
right?
And these are the very ones who, of course, society has an obligation to them, right? The government in particular has an obligation to them to really um get the youths gainful employment, right? Provide the opportunities for them to become um, meaningful participants in society, right? Usually, they're the ones who are most targeted, and this thing is something which goes back to our our terrible past, right? Young black men are the ones who have always been the number one attack from slavery, and it's something which continues to this day, right? When you see youngsters following the Don and so on, them basically following the part where them can find food. That's basically what it amounts to, right?
What is brogad?
You just want to know.
Oh no, I just I think I know, but and there's a new term.
What do you think it means, Maxine?
I think it means done.
Exactly. Done of dance.
Done.
It
So
means done of dance.
if
And
brogad
it's
was
not like a CEO either.
no, it's
All right,
another.
right? Our president, our term that a prime minister should embrace.
But it was because the prime ministers in their political campaigning seek to talk to the people in their own the people who they vote for them in a particular manner. Because you have different layers of voters. And the layer of voters that secures the political parties are where the Jingbangs live. He made his Jingbang comment in Olympic Gardens, where he was announcing a center that was being built to try to create a space for a community that, you know, is not that well off, to congregate and have cultural activity, etc. But interesting as I'm reading the comment, this comment about you have some jingbangs that follow around them, that when the dons are gone, the jingbangs will run away. But the real hardcore criminals, they are not more than 20. And if you're able to target those 20, it would release the 30,000 people who are suffering under them, people who are captured by them, destroying the community. Now, this paragraph is the paragraph of the political structure in developing their garrisons, right? This naming of not more than 20. I've heard this not more than 20 over decades. And yet still they have not been able to move maybe one or two or whatever, or who died or, So it's a bit hypocritical at the same time, but I know it's electioneering, year. But if you
That's the
get
key.
too,
That's the
if
key
you get
point.
looking at it too deeply, there's nowhere to go other than to know that it's politics.
That's the key point, Maxine, because what is practiced in Jamaica is a kind of mob style politics. And these are terms really that you associate with the mob, the Don and the peons, as John said,
Yeah,
right?
because Swaga himself at one time got into trouble and said he's the one born of his party.
Mm-hmm. Mob style politics.
Yeah, just looking in the Webster's and all the other things, Jingbang is an actual Scottish slang that is used to describe a certain crowd of people, right?
What kind of people?
Just crowd.
It's just a slang they use.
To describe
Those Jingbang or that Jingbang, right? They represent. It's a slang for a certain crowd of people that is not in agreement with whoever is the speaker. I mean, I can go back and try to find more because Jingbang is a noun slang for company or a crowd using the phrase the whole Jingbang. So either we are overly defining it as being a bad connotation for people, or we just missed the point that
I,
how it was originally used.
No,
I think
what you
I
read
think
that
it's a
definition out.
paragraph that it's used in. It's not just a word, it's a paragraph that makes it hypocritical.
But
Right?
also,
Because you
if
who have created the Dons and the Jingbangs are now talking about you want to target the 20 of them that you know from Woiwo. You understand? And that they do it all the time. You understand? They said they're going to break down the garrisons. They said they're going to break down this, they're going to do that, all the, and they never do it.
but what do? They themselves practice this mob style politics, right? Where they're basically reaping for themselves, right? They follow no proper procedure because that is basically what is situation with the Integrity Commission is all about, right? There's no proper accountability that shows gives an explanation for the kinds of money that he has amassed over the years, right? So he himself operate like a mobster. That's how mobsters operate, right? Yet he's the prime minister. So yes, you're right, Maxine. It's hypocritical, and even with that term herb, right? The fact of the matter is that the herb, the definition has nothing good to say about the word Jingbang. So yes, it is derogatory, right? There's nothing good about the term, right? How dare him refer to the youngsters as Jingbang, right? It's absolutely, totally disrespectful. You couldn't use
My
that term in a criminal court.
my concern, as I tell you before, is the use of Jingbang for me is not significant, in criticizing the Prime Minister in his speech. It for me, the most important thing I see coming out of that is the Prime Minister outlining a strategy to fight crime. I don't know if you guys realize it in that thing.
I
In
get
that
what you're
thing,
saying.
he's
I get what you're saying.
outlining what
Yeah.
he is outlining is the government's strategy, right? And the strategy on national security at this time to fight crime. What he is saying is that you have a few people who are hardcore criminals and you have some people who follow them. And the strategy that his government is pursuing is to eliminate those 20. And this is what I think a lot of people missing in focusing on the whole issue of Jingbang. The Prime Minister is outlining what their security strategy is. And if
Has
we
been
look, huh?
what the strategy has been for decades.
Exactly. And if we look in the newspapers and in the news, each day we see that strategy being played out daily, right? They are disregarding Indicom. They're pretending as if Indicom is not there, and they're giving the police full authority to go into communities and kill whoever they feel is a significant crime producer. The sad thing about that is that the sentiment in the country, because of the high crime rate, is not against what the Prime Minister is saying. That is a very sad thing about what is happening in the country. What it means is that if there's an innocent youth who get caught up in or is in the wrong place at the wrong time and get caught up in a situation where he is gunned down by the police, the sentiment in the country is not for justice. It is about doing something about crime. And once the government is doing something about crime, the public is satisfied. So they are riding on the general sentiment in the country to carry out a policy that is unjust and is not transparent. If you notice in the newspapers and on the news especially in the last couple of months,
Police killings.
the amount of police killings in questionable circumstances, right? And there is no outcry from the public. There is no outcry from the political representatives, right? And you hardly hear about any independent investigations taking place in these circumstances. So that is my concern, that you have a prime minister who is putting forward a crime policy, making a crime policy public, that what they are after is eliminating a certain category of youths inside of the community who they categorize as falling within that 20 hardcore criminals. And that is my concern.
Can I?
John, what is your concern?
Yeah, I think Las put his finger on a very important point there. I just qualify something. One, this is not public. This is the middle class. I believe if you go into the communities itself, the people in the communities where police are conducting these murder, it is known as usual. So the middle class don't know about it or uh, is not unsympathetic. Secondly, and when I use the term middle class, I mean broadly. The media in Jamaica is tuned in. I mean, this thing is going on for so long that the ghetto areas are basically shielded. I'm not sure what this human rights, what you call them. There's a group there in Jamaica that
Amnesty International.
Jamaica
eh?
for just Jamaicans for justice.
Yeah, Jamaicans for Justice. I don't know what they're. I mean, Human Rights Watch have come out with things about the Jamaican. It's basically about the wanton killing by police. Essentially, it's been a long traditional way that police deal with the community, and the use of that term is just like in America. When you're going to lick head in a community, you refer to the people in a derogatory way so that it becomes more socially acceptable. I don't know if you can see my finger. It becomes more socially acceptable to the public, meaning the middle class, the working class, people that are not living in these areas. When you are living in Jamaica, a country that is heavily under the problem of crime is a big thing, then the resort to these draconian type measures become more open, more acceptable. As last say, it shows the government is doing something. So I think this is a very good point, and it only strengthened that method of policing, which has, I mean, we can count the number of decades that this kind of method has failed. But it works because it's show you doing something. Every time you go on YouTube and you look on crime in Jamaica, this is the picture you get. Police raiding a community. This is not Mona Heights they're raiding. This is not Red Hills they're raiding. This is Waterhouse, Olympic Gardens, Jonestown, ghetto community. And the Jeep them pull up and them run round. Sometimes them round up a big number, them shoot up some people, and that's the action. So the term Jingbang in that context is really to
Soften the minds of the people.
soften the minds, yes, as well as to identify who in the mind of those people you can get rid of. We don't have to follow no law. So I really want to agree with that point and just emphasize it a little more, because that's
So John, it goes back to the separation I was talking about. Because if in the population's mind, if you can separate the middle class from the Jingbangs, and even at a lower level, if you can separate within communities people who don't think of themselves or don't believe that they even fit that category, and they're going to assign that Jingbang to a lower category. So he's dividing the population pretty much, right? People will either embrace the term or they're going to run from it. And when I say embrace the term, they probably don't know what the hell he's talking about, what he means. And they couldn't care less.
right.
The ones who live in the
Unwanted people, the unwanted people, the people who it don't matter what you do, and that is the youths. Some of them might be involved in criminal activity, but most of them is surviving on the basis of something, not necessarily everything legal, but that's the history of the youths in Jamaica. That, to me, this is when we talk about community and policing, this is the model that we are familiar with.
Well, we have to realize too that there's a new generation of quote unquote dons. Maybe my generation of dons is different now. As I'm thinking that this generation that come out of the scamming era, they
Tell me
are
more. Tell me more. I'm not familiar with this. Your generation of Don. Tell me what to me. Explain that to me personally.
Is
I only
that
know
an
the
age
cool
group
one.
thing, Maxine?
yeah, the dons of the 80s and the 90s. Like the don them were hang out with Bob Marley and Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer. Yeah? And Sugar Minott and Gregory Isaacs and so on. I'm in the music, so I know all these dons that they speak of. You understand? On a level, and I know all the communities where they live and reign, and why they live and reign, and how the thing go. What I understand over the last 10, 20 years is that a new set of people came on the scene coming out of scamming a lot of money, and they are not under any political affiliation or whatever like that. They're very, own way, right? And the same pressures within the garrison, because you have to realize that all that there's Jingbang or whatever territory is the garrisons. You understand? Like Jingbang in this paragraph or this headline is, could be referred to, those Jingbang people down in Waterhouse, or those Jingbang, like it's a whole inner city people, the dancehall people, some Jingbang. Jingbang means, like you said, different things to different classes in Jamaica, especially in Jamaica.
Especially in Jamaica. It's probably
So
Yeah,
true.
but,
I'm saying he was in Olympic Gardens, not in Constant Spring or
His
Cherry,
own constituency.
his own constituency.
but I have a question. Given all what you have said, should a prime minister be using this sort of expression to describe the
But he's
Jamaican people?
brogyard.
That's a piece I want to address. That's
No,
definitely the
listen,
piece I want to
he's
address.
brogyard. Him wear Clark's booty.
Yeah, but
You understand?
we know
And
why.
you wear hat. You're dressing like the people. The
Yeah,
politicians, they're
yeah, but
dressing like me and you is one.
yeah, but the question is, should the prime minister, give the role that he is asked to play? Should he be using that sort of expression to describe the Jamaican people, regardless of they're involved in gang or what have you? Should he?
Can I respond to that?
Go ahead, bro.
Yes. I'm gonna take you back for a minute in history, Jamaican history, where this all got started. 1968. Hugh Shearer, first black prime minister in Jamaica.
Shoot first and
Yes.
ask question after.
Right? Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's what set all of this on a part for police brutality to get launched and police to be unaccountable for their actions. And all of this was directed at young male, particularly youths in other country. And it's something that has not been stemmed since that time.
No.
Right? Moreover, you gotta note, right? You gotta note in particular that no police has ever been brought to account for their actions. Right? For all of them killings what them do and all of that. Right? And at the same time, it provides cover for the government when correctly now to Maxine's point, when the Dons were under the political control, right? It provided cover for the government to not address the needs of that very important, productive area of society. Because the most productive element of society, is a young male, That's the most productive element. And when there's no production, that's the indication that unemployment exists in that area. And where do they turn? When a youngster leaves school and him can't get a job, right? Where does he turn? What is it we talk about time and time again? It is totally irresponsible. And not just irresponsible, like I say, it's mob style politics. Right? No prime minister in particular should ever speak that way or make that kind of reference to anybody.
Is Jingbang in your vocabulary?
Not anymore.
Not since last week or what?
All about Maxine.
You better man care some Maxine.
We haven't heard that term in a long time.
John, you've been
I can give you an experience.
Come on for John case, Maxine.
What I can give you experience in Waterhouse, those of us who live on the main street, we used to refer to those who live on the Gully bank as Jingbang.
Jingbang, right.
Okay.
So you understand? So when I hear the Prime Minister use this, then it just shows the hypocrisy of Holness. Because if he serious about what he's saying, then the first place to start is home. In the very community that he's at. It has a lot of crime and violence. Not just crime and violence, but also when you go through that, you can definitely see the drug money. So if he real serious about what he's saying, start with Olympic Yard, start with West Central St. Andrew. No, he's giving the police a license to go out and kill people. Remember, that's how the Coral Gardens thing, the government Buster Man to describe the Rasta movement as dirty head Rasta man, and police go after them and what have you. And we have this history where government official dehumanize people, and that's where they say they go in dehumanize first and then they go in and eliminate people. And that is what we have to guard against. Is this man using these terms in order to lay the groundwork for something much more massive?
Last said it clearly. Yeah.
Well, I just came off a week at the United Nations working group of experts on African descendants, speaking to the issue of reparations and reparatory justice for African descendants. And this situation, they were, the ambassador from Haiti was there in particular. And the situation that we are discussing in Jamaica is all across the diaspora. When the representatives from Brazil spoke about the wanton killing of the Black youth in Brazil by the police.
What part of Brazil? Amazon?
No, in all the cities, the same urban.
The ghetto here.
The same urban scenario.
Same
right?
side.
And everything is linked to economics, right? And economics that is being researched to be common to all the places where the black people who are descendants of the slave trade and the economic system are feeling all over, up to even Africa, because they went there and carved up Africa and taking the resources out of Africa. You understand? And well, just like how they take out the bauxite or whatever these economic scenarios are. So I'm just giving you a perspective that this is not, it's local, but it is
International.
It's international.
international.
It's part of the way the colonial thing work.
Right, it works, and so when we are addressing the outcomes, like we're crying about it, we also have to, you understand, address the real problem that our political system is representing literally the colonial powers to keep us in check. You understand? Because they cannot provide, the Jamaican economy cannot provide for its people. You understand? There's not enough. You have to spend too much money to pay off your debt. You're borrowing money and
Correction.
then, huh?
Correction. The way the economy is organized, it cannot provide for the Jamaican people, but
People.
the economy can provide. It all
Right, the way
depends on
that
how
it
it's
is,
organized.
right, the way the legacy of that is being maintained,
Yeah.
right? So when we're talking about Olympic Way and Olympic Gardens and Waterhouse and all of the inner cities that also provide the cheap labor, because I'm in Trenchtown or Waterhouse. These youths that you have a set of youths as he's talking about creating problem. Then you have another set of youths that is providing labor below minimum wage, like the pay that they're getting to supply labor for all those industries on Spanish Town Road and Marcus Garvey Drive, and you understand? It's not attractive. It's very hard. And then when you look at the education system, there was some article today about the education and how much children not learning math, and it's disgraceful.
It is, Maxine, it is more profitable for some of these youths follow behind the hardcore criminals than to work in those factories and Spanish Town Road.
Good.
And that is where the government not addressing some of those issues.
At
Because
least even if you can't address it, tell the people what is going on. Like, don't go on like say,
But it doesn't work that way, Maxine.
no, I know, but it works that way for us because we have to talk. Them not talk, but we have to talk the truth when we.
so because
Yeah.
they give the impression that there are just a few youths following behind the gangs and following behind the dons. When the fact is, as you state, Maxine, the, the youths that are in these communities are finding it more profitable, right, to follow behind the dons than to work on the big factories on Spanish Town Road. A lot of them, right? And this is something that the government need to address. How the economy affecting the youths and affecting them outlook. Because if a youth can see scammers living big within a couple months of scamming, or see some youths following behind a Don, and him can look and act successful, and there is no alternative that the government can point these youths to and say, leave badness because there is another profitable and beneficial way out of your economic hardship. A lot of them go and just fall prey to the dons that them talking about, you know. But
But honestly, there's a lot of them that just go to work. I mean, I'm sitting here meditating like on a block like First Street or Second Street or Third Street, as he says, you know. A lot of them push through, you understand? And more of them push through than, you know what I mean?
those
The
falling by the
percentage,
wayside.
huh?
You're saying more of them push through than those who fall prey to the badness thing.
Yeah, but when they fall to the badness, they create such havoc because they are angry. That's the other
Yeah.
thing too, you know. A lot of these youths that are perpetrating these violence is not just that they're bad, you know, or, you know, they're very angry. They have psychological, mental trauma.
Oh yeah.
You understand? Acting out like crazy. You know what I mean? And it's sad, you know, that the result is to shoot them when maybe, you know, they should be getting mental health treatment. But it's just that as you help them mentally, you have to point them into some productive, you know, situation. I think at one point they were, I think the same Andrew Holness was speaking about like a youth Peace Corps. You understand? Where they were gonna create some avenue to gather the youths in some kind of a volunteer work that would be subsidized and even sending them out to the countryside to work in agriculture in certain areas. Because I have seen a couple programs that when the youths are taken into the countryside, into the farming, how their relationship to the soil and where they actually plant and grow, that it heals them. Most of them are really acting out. Like I would have kids, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I have teenagers, and I see when the hormones start to rage, you understand? And they're becoming adult, and you know, it's a different, it's what are you doing in the society? You usually have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, usually have, you know, these 4-H clubs or whatever. It's there for a reason. You understand? And a
But
lot of those,
the
huh?
problem, Maxine, it doesn't pay the bill. I mean, when you look at the term "no way out," it's like people are stuck in a cycle, a vortex inside some of these communities. And if their older brother, their father, their grandfather was a bad man and everybody followed the bad man style, and they survived that way, now to level the playing field, all you need today is a gun, right? To take out whoever it is the baddest man that keeps bothering you within your community. And you can't keep doing that because different groups come together to form a power base to defend themselves. So that group, like when they had the listing of gangs in Jamaica, they had over 400 gangs. But in reality, they weren't gangs. They were just people who came together in a power base to defend themselves. The real gangs numbered 100 and something or less. It just depends on how the police want to classify them, right? But you have, I don't hear the prime minister calling the Dons and some of the more powerful gunmen in Spanish Town is Babsy Grange area, where them name the Klansman gang and all of these people. I don't hear him referring to them as Jingbangs. And this
Oh,
is what
The man
those
a
are the
honorable
hardcore.
man. Herbie, the man a honorable man I talk about Jingbang.
But why we
hey,
laugh? Why we laugh?
you know,
I don't want us to lose sight of the prime minister's style of way of doing stuff.
Right.
And that is the problem.
Matter of fact, I didn't even know what he calls them, Mike.
Yeah, that is
What?
the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem. The way he does stuff. For example, for a number of years now, the MP for Waterhouse, Tony Hilton, been alerting him and the country that Sandy Gully is becoming a dangerous place. The wall crack, and people are going to suffer some serious damage there. He hasn't done anything on it. Hilton proposed the housing, the Penwood Road housing thing. He hasn't done anything on that. But guess what? Since that proposal came forward, he constructed 3 different housing schemes in his constituency.
Olympic Gardens, right?
In Olympic Gardens. So this
adjoining community.
Adjoining community. Yeah, adjoining constituency. You know, Mr. Hilton having a very difficult time to get support. To get support from him. So he's a man who practiced the worst type of politics that he learned from Eddie Siaga.
And that is
discrimination.
Yeah.
That Mikey was one of the things that I noted. That this article about this Jingbang thing.
Yeah.
The thing I noticed about that his speech there was that it was pure electioneering.
Pure electioneering.
And that he was using. What he was doing was using this project in Olympic Gardens to sum up for election purpose all the things that the party has been doing inside our West Central St. Andrew.
Exactly.
Right? He has been, and across the country, they have been talking about how many community centers like the one they're building on Olympic Way, they have built across the country. They might talk about the housing scheme down at St. Paul's Lane over the other side from Uno. They might talk about everything in the constituency in an electioneering way, talking to the people at West Central, but also using it to talk to the people at Jamaica. So the government has been doing these things about community centers, housing, crime, you name it. So this speech was just an election speech.
And you know what is funny? That center, the idea for the center in Waterhouse came from us, you know.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago.
That came from us, you know.
All of what he did.
Yeah, all of what he thought came from us.
Yeah.
You understand? So he's not only an opportunist, but the man, I think he learned some of the worst politics from Eddie Siaga, and now he's trying to put that in place. And I don't think that Jamaican people are going to go for that.
No, it is the same. It is the same garrison politics.
Same thing.
Where if you build up Tower Hill and then become loyal to you, and next door Waterhouse no have nothing go on for them, you can say to the country, see, this Hilton a MP for X amount of years and nothing go on over there, so. Look over here, so. Right across the gully, St. Paul's Lane scheme, no, just across the gully.
Just across the gully.
Right?
While Waterhouse overcrowded.
Exactly. So it's not, it's just a way of promoting the party for the election, and them uncompromising about it. Them not have no shame about it.
John, you talk about maintaining the colonial legacy. You want to say some more on that?
Well, the point the colonial legacy is not just an economic thing, it's a social thing. That means if you're white, you're all right. If you're brown, you hang around. If you're black, stay back. There's no country.
That come out in the 1970s left.
There's no country in the world, whether it's British colonialism, French colonialism, Dutch colonialism, Belgium, you go anywhere in the world, even in the blackest country like Africa, in Africa, that system run. That system run. The white people is in the government, them is a government ministry, them have the business, and they inherit business from the colonial period. Independence come, it don't change. It is just marginally changed.
But to dehumanize folks, John, to dehumanize.
Right. The purpose of dehumanization. When the Americans went to Vietnam, what did they call the Vietnamese?
Chinks.
Chinks. When the Mexican came to California and dig up the land.
California was Mexico.
Well, okay, when they took over Mexico, and they're using the Mexican to do the labor in terms of the what you call the crop that California oh Jesus. The point I'm making, and of course blacks, we all know what they call black people. So throughout the whole world, that's the social system that support the economic system is what exists. That's all I'm saying. It is you can just jump from here, you go India. You jump from India, you go South Africa. You go Jamaica, you go Brazil. It's the same thing. Today, the black, in 99% of these countries, the blackest people are at the bottom. And interestingly enough, it's just the other day I learned that in Brazil, the biggest population of black people in the world is Brazil.
Outside of Africa.
Outside of Africa. Sorry, what did I say? Outside of Africa, the biggest population, 111 million people.
Biggest black population.
Yeah, the biggest black, the biggest black population. You have me to think too hard. The biggest black population outside of Africa is in Brazil. What I'm saying is the statement of the Brazilian representative at that meeting is the same story that we're going to tell about Jamaica. Which is that if you go into the most impoverished communities and the way the government of these countries brand the people in those communities to justify the abuse that these people suffer is by branding them a certain type of name. It's like the immigrants who eat dog and puss. It's the same thing. That those are the people that are of least value.
The same thing that we used to say about the Rasta man, the black heart man.
But the most fundamental.
Yeah, but I'm only saying, absolutely. Whoever is at the bottom, my point is there is a way in which we brand them in order to negate them, in order to abuse them, to kill them off, to lock them up. That is how things run. So with all the independence, 60 odd years, it has not changed the social order because we have not changed the economic order.
You come to my point.
Thank you, sir. Finally, me and you thinking the same way.
You come to my point.
Well, tell us what your point is, Patrick.
Well, just to expand a little on what John just said, right? What we have to look at is where this all started. This all started, yes, with colonialism, right? But
well,
what is this colonialism?
Yes, it starts with slavery, but yes.
No. Colonialism, the system itself. right, was colonialism. One of the main tenets of the system was slavery, right? Now, a lot of people will argue that slavery had always had existed before Western colonialism, and that's true, but not in the way that it existed under Western colonialism. Because under Western colonialism, right, slavery, the first thing you know about slavery was that slavery was inhumane. In other words, slaves were not considered as people. They were not seen as the citizenry of any country. They were not seen as citizenry of the colony itself, right? Because the whole idea was to extract the wealth of the colony and take it back to Europe, right?
And build up Europe.
And build up Europe.
Right.
This is what built Europe.
That's what built
And as
Europe.
Europe built, it underdeveloped the colonial countries,
Correct.
right? That's where Walter Rodney speaks of the underdevelopment of Africa by Europe. And that is what we experience in Jamaica and across the entire Western colonial countries, right? The only exception was here in the United States. And why was it an exception? Because in the United States, there was the presence of actual Europeans in control here, right? It wasn't just a colony, because they got rid of the colonialism with well, not the colonialism, but they got rid of their colonial masters, right, in Europe, right, through the War of Independence, and became the colonizers at home, right, because they colonized the US as their own in that way, right? So that is the only thing that separates us. But the fact of the matter is that we were not seen as humans, right? We were never seen as citizens.
You're
Even
always.
as voting developed, you
I
were
think
only able to vote based on the land you own. And who owned the land? Slaves never owned the land, right? Whatever progress you might make, there's always a rollback, right? A rollback to make it great again. Make it great again, meaning make it the way it used to be, right? That's all it means. Nothing great about it. But that was the whole idea. So it's the same copycat style that Holness played in Jamaica when Holness governed, right? For enrich himself and him friend them, right? And for further impoverish and dehumanize people.
I want to ask something about the or bring up a thought, because I see where the issue for the Integrity Commission is really, and why they came into being, is to develop a policy around the same matter of enrichment and legislation. I'm reading from the article, if thought necessarily, to deal with the commercial and corporate activities of 53 ministers of government and the likelihood of conflicts of interest arising therefrom. So I'm thinking to myself what President Trump is doing as a businessman himself. He's now president. And he's
Not yet, in a
inviting
few days.
all kind of business people to take the reins of the government of America. So, in light of what he's doing or why he's doing what he's doing, right? How do you um see what is happening, politically in judgment? Because I guess no one is the civil servants and the structure of America is opposed in principle to what he's doing, but he has the power and the people seem to have voted him in to do this. But when I'm looking at it, looking at what they are structuring, what should business people, what should these people who have commercial and corporate activities, that in essence you're hiring them to come and work for you, right? And to use their skill in their respective businesses. Are they being chosen? Um, and where is it going wrong? Meaning, then their business skills should be making us the country richer. If they are in fact business people who have created wealth for themselves, what is the expectation, and where are they falling short? No, I mean,
It's
I'm just looking.
it's not about for me. It's not about expectations in terms of the people's expectations, because the expectations of the people is that these people would come into government and use their business skills to further the government. But the reality is that it is not so. These people is not about making government more profitable. These people are about making themselves more profitable.
Right, so they should be fired.
Well,
Oligarchy.
no. There are laws, because there are laws that if you run certain businesses and you get elected to certain positions in the United States, your company should be put in some kind of a trust or turned over to some management company that runs this business on your behalf, so that the whole issue of conflict of interest would not arise. That is in that is how it is thought of. But in reality, even if somebody else is running your company,
Must be
you
your
know
family.
what policies and what kind of legislation will benefit your company. So once you are in government, these are the things that you're going to propose, and these are the things that you're going to support, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And what is happening in America right now, you will notice, is that the billionaires in the country at one time were content with staying in the shadows and getting government business, right? The thing has changed, wherein these billionaires in America are no longer satisfied with just sitting in the shadows in America, right? They want to take the reins of power in America. And what has been happening, if you notice in the elections, all of them coming out front, just like Elon Musk, right? And declaring who and what their support is for. And they actually want positions in government, right? So it's a whole different ball game from before, when they were satisfied of staying in the shadows and playing the politicians, having their people, their lobbyists pressure this one and pay off that one. The money people in America no longer is satisfied with using lobbyists to get what they want. they actually want to hold the reins of power themselves.
So it's a new era.
Of course it is.
Oligarchy.
Of course it is. It's a new era in American politics. They're not satisfied with using lobbies to chart the direction of the United States government or world politics. They want to get involved. Elon Musk want to be there at the table directing what is happening. And a lot of the other billionaires, they want to be at the table. And part of them supporting Donald Trump was that they're gonna be at the table.
So they're the new industrialists.
It's an
No, 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 no,
oligarchy
no, no. They are the oligarchs.
that is happening in America. The oligarchy is
So
not in the shadows anymore. They are out front as leaders and rulers.
who are the oligarchs of Jamaica?
They,
Go,
they,
I sent you a TikTok with the 11 families
that run things.
that run things in Jamaica.
Can you read it out for us?
It's the same
No,
thing.
I don't remember the names offhand.
No,
You
I
think
can't
I
remember.
memorized?
But
Herb, can you find that for us? And while you do that, I have a question. This practice of dehumanizing ordinary Jamaican is nothing new. It's been happening for a number of years now. And the Jamaican people overcome each time they use that form. For example, reggae came from the word reggae. You know, that's something that the Jamaican people flip on its head. So my question is, given this history, why do they keep on going back to this tired old formula of dehumanizing people in order to move forward or to retain power? Why do they keep on doing that when it's obvious it's not working?
Who said not working?
What, the dehumanizing?
That's
Of
how they
course it
make.
works.
That's always work.
That's where they get their riches from.
That's always work.
That's the
It
formula.
may not
It
work
continues to
forever,
work.
Mikey, but it works for a time. The purpose of dehumanizing is to kill off, to lock up, to imprison, to cast to one side.
we have to remember too, is that the government plays on public sentiment. And public sentiment a lot of times have to do with the way the economy is going, the way the crime rate is going, the way the difficulty in people surviving, and the division inside of the country a lot of times heightens, or people can play on the division when things are tough.
So we're facing a rough road ahead because
It is.
when you look at it, you say it's working. Yes, in certain respect, yes. But I think the Jamaican people, as always, resist these sort of things.
Not always, Mikey. If you
Yes,
notice,
you always gotta resist, but it doesn't mean that when you resist, it results in it going away. It doesn't go anywhere. It has something that has remained with us for centuries.
So therefore, a young man who is from the country, once he left the police training school and he come to Huntsville, and the police them tell him Waterhouse is just Jingbang live up there. Can you imagine the mindset that young police officer is coming into Waterhouse with to patrol?
him do him not have to come from country, Mikey. Him just have to come from above half a tree.
I'm come from Waterhouse too.
And
Come from
sometimes them
Waterhouse,
come from Waterhouse. But the education you get is against your own.
Education and the training.
It is.
Where are you, Mikey? This
How
is
many
what the
times
culture.
look how much people we grew up with in the ghetto, and when we meet them when you
I
meet them in a
culturalist.
crossroad, when you meet them in a crossroad and half a tree, then probably some of them probably able to go to a particular high school or a particular
I drive a
university
certain car.
or drive a certain car.
I
And
live a certain house.
when them talk about Waterhouse or Tower Hill or Greenwich Farm, you would have think say somebody who born up at Cherry Garden or Garden Town
Herb,
because
Herb, what?
the education where them a get, right? And because some of them want to reach so far and feel like them ambitious, them want to cut ties with me and you and look down upon me and you. You know, there's so many people in a high society who come from these communities, and you never ever hear them talk about these communities like so them come from there. Never.
Herb, what's your take?
Look, you can talk down all you want. What has happened in Jamaica in recent time is that herb and music has started to level the playing field for a lot of different families.
You
So,
mean you want music?
huh?
You want music?
Herb,
Not that
Yes,
herb.
yeah.
I'm not.
Herbert.
You know, you have
Good one, Patrick.
you have all of these. For all I know, Maxine could be sitting here. She's a billionaire on this slide, and we don't know it,
I
right?
know, I know.
And the bottom line though is this: we see here in the United States. Somebody said Musk, without the Tesla and his other acumen as a AI person, Musk would not have risen to the very top so rapidly, right? So he's bypassed a whole lot of people. The same thing with Bill Gates and Microsoft. They found their niche, and in a matter of 10 years, they moved to the top of the scale. So if you look in Jamaica right now, and I'm seeing all of these various families, they have elites, right? And they have rich people. A list of the eight wealthiest:
Yeah.
Michael Lee Chin, Joseph Matalan, Chris Backwell, Paula Kerr Jarrett, Dr. Blossom Amelia Nelson, maybe a relation, I don't know. John Asa, the Butch Stewart family, Wayne Chen, right? And and that is the wealthiest that I was able to find. Now there's another part that says more influential. Since 1834, the Cordova family, right, linked with the Ashdams by marriage, has been a member of the 21 families that run Jamaica.
Right. Now that is the oligarchy.
Yes.
Because those people are there, whether it's JLP or PNP. Some of them other people, them just get money. Them just get money. Blossom Amelia Nelson and some of them you call, them
Yeah.
just get money. Real money is
Yeah,
this list you're calling now.
The
Herb
old
mentioned
money.
a key point to as
Go
well.
on,
Because,
go on, because you bring up the list. Call
yeah,
out the name
because
there.
through intermarriage and so on, that's where you find some of the name changes. But there's
Yeah.
still the relationship.
Yeah. Well, money marrying to money. That's what's been happening,
Yeah.
right? The Enriquez family, right? Largest landowners with some 3,000 acres of land. The Matalan,
The Isas.
with the commodity service companies since 1946, and the
Dennis,
varieties. Um,
Dennis,
the ISA group
yeah.
of these extraction with dry goods and haberdashery stores from 1894. The Da Costas.
Mm-hmm.
an import-export house, and the Brandons being the largest importer of animal feed. See, they dominate certain industries, and
Right.
nobody gets to compete. The Hart family out of
Montego Bay.
James, right? Samuel Hart, founding father of the Hartwell. By 1960, achieved a turnover of 100,000 pounds per annum in dry goods after being in business for 36 years, right?
Yeah, because you have certain new money which came about like through the banking industry, like
Right.
the
The
leaching
ganja
and so
industry,
on.
transshipment industry.
Well, the ganja was always there, for the for liquid assets, cash. In other words, when business is running into problem, the best way to resolve it, if you run out of cash, is by having a farm and grow ganja and export the ganja, right?
Yeah, I know
And
that
there's
one.
another key one which you never mentioned, Herb. Um, the sandals, uh, one.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Stewart.
Yes,
mentioned
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you
Stewart.
mentioned them.
Oh, yeah, I said the Stewart family.
Oh,
Stewart.
okay, okay.
Yeah, they have the car companies, Porsche. How many people would believe Jamaica would need a Porsche
So,
dealer? How
so,
many
No,
people?
but
so, if,
before
so,
Porsche, they had others.
Yeah,
so, if,
they had the Mitsubishi and
Yeah,
The
the
yeah.
mad Peugeot. The
yeah,
mad Peugeot.
so
yeah.
if we look at all of these families and their industries and the way that they make money and want to maintain money, how much of the population of Jamaica, of the people that don't have any money, how much of that population do they need to work for them to maintain their wealth?
The the investments that they have will keep turning over for decades.
No, 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 I understand. I'm trying to talk on behalf of the Jingbang.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the
I'm
Jing
saying because the Jingbang is a problem for the government and the
because
police and
they
so forth,
interfere.
right? No, I'm saying we should get some statistic people on this program for them to give us the real statistics in relation to industry in Jamaica. How many people can really be employed, right?
Mhm.
By this industrial oligarchical base and couple more rich people. And then let us look at our population, right? As to see how much these industries can absorb,
But here's
right?
the thing, Maxine. That
Because
when
and where is it going to expand?
here's the thing, Maxine, that you have to consider when you look at that question. It's the way, going back to Michael's point earlier on, the way the economy is organized, right? It is really organized for profit, not for people,
No, we
right? No,
understand
no,
that,
no.
but we are now
Follow me.
independent.
Huh?
I said we understand that's where we're coming from, but we are now independent, looking at our,
No, but
so
that's a whole misconception right there. We have
no,
never
no,
been
no, I
independent.
understand, but I'm talking about the people on this panel here. We're all independent, aren't we?
Oh, you're talking about who is here?
Mikey, Herb, Patrick, John, Lass, and Maxine.
Well, I am independent.
Okay, so we're independently asking the question, how much of the people of Jamaica, the Jingbang people, can these industrial leaders and their wealth, how much can they absorb in terms of employment and maintaining their status quo? Because then the result of that will be these people that they are talking about in Waterhouse and Olympic Way. You understand? Like we need to change the conversation instead of discussing what is happening based on, like people want to be bad or people want to be this or people want to be that. We should look at the real economic um, ability of
if
Jamaica.
I if I can try to answer that question, it depends on how the economic system is organized.
But we know how it's organized.
Right, the way it's organized now, it creates a wider gap than if it was organized differently. Let's
Right.
put it another way. We don't need to do away with people who own capital. We don't need to do away with people who own land. We don't need to do away with the expertise of certain types of economists and so on. The question before us is, how can we better organize the assets that the country have so that there is not starvation starvation of a big number of a majority versus opulence of a small number.
Okay.
So even in the United States, when they gave out, an economist published a report of the ratio of owners, the income of owners to the average income of working people in the US is 400 to 1. There's no other country in the world with that ratio, with that wide ratio. So nobody is saying that you cannot have a Elon Musk, or that society can't tolerate a Elon Musk. What people are saying is, how can we organize society where Elon Musk don't need 59 million? The court just turned down his income of 59 million a year.
56 billion.
Billion. That's right.
Billion. You're right.
56 billion, not million, billion. The court just turned it down. No, I am not in the court. I don't know the rationale that the court give. But the point is, why can't the society be organized so that he can live good? He can live up, wealthy. But it don't mean that the people who work in his businesses, especially at what name? X and fire a whole heap of them when he took over.
Tesla and X, yeah.
No, X, especially X and fire nearly half of the employees in X. Twitter. Right? I don't know what the bottom income is in the space industry. Probably they get good money because it's highly scientific. But in Tesla, I'm sure if I go on the factory floor, I will find people earning pittance. So the point that I'm making is,
there were big problems at Tesla.
Right, I'm sure labor problem because in ban union and all that is a sign of how those people like to run things. And it's the same thing in Jamaica.
So why the government is borrowing so much money? Because these oligarchs are making their money, right? On whatever they...
And then that being taxed. They don't pay a lot of taxes.
Right. But the government now is borrowing money to run what business?
The same business, the same ones that exist. When government
they're borrowing money for the oligarchs.
No, exactly, because when the government borrows money for development, whose hands do you think they put that money in?
No, I just want the people to know, I'm just trying to tease out the situation to see.
Okay.
Where
Another point too, Maxine, is another point too, right? To John's point, is that using the example here in the US, when you look at development over the last 20 odd years, 30 odd years, right? You have looked at the gap between the top CEOs and management of the company as against the ones at the bottom, right? You have seen that gap widen by as much as 500 to 1,000%, right? You have not even seen minimum wage increase in over 30 odd years.
Are you talking about in Jamaica
No, in the US, in the
or
US,
in the
right?
US?
I mean, it's the same pattern. And
Yeah.
Same
anyway, it was
pattern,
the same pattern.
same system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but I
same
think
system.
there might be some difference when it comes to the Caribbean because we are we are we are coming out of the slave society. Okay.
This too.
Yeah. But when you look at the ownership of slaves in Jamaica, it's going to reveal some very interesting thing to you because some of the very same family who used to own slaves in Jamaica, it is now their children who inherit all this wealth and doing things with that wealth. The point I'm making is that we cannot talk about change in the economy, Jamaican economy and whatever, and not talk about the role of the Jews, the ownership of the economy. Because in the early 60s, the 21 family were dominated by the Jews.
Yeah. Yes, I
And
mean,
they still exert influence on the
And
Jamaican
there's a
economy.
reason for that. There's a reason for that. The Jews historically was one of the main architects of the banking system.
And the traders, they own the ships.
and train,
And a
yeah.
lot of this is built on the banking system, right? Not so much the traders, the
Insurance
banking
companies.
system, the money aspect of it,
The money.
right? Yeah. When you go back to Europe, the main group of countries, or the main group of colonizers, wasn't the ones who were colonizing, but it was the ones who were really engaged in the money movement.
Financing.
Who provide
Yes,
the money
yes.
for the business.
The Dutch. If you notice, there are very few Dutch Dutch colonies, but the Dutch were like number one when it came to the ships. Who owned the ships then? Who owned the whole organizing of the trade, the whole money movement and all of that? The biggest banking family in the world come from Germany.
Oppenheimer.
Dutch.
So when I was at the UN in the different sessions, it reminded me of Moses and the Pharaoh. The negotiation between Moses and the Pharaoh. Right? No, I'm telling you, it was a mind-blowing
Experience.
experience because it one way or whatever, but when you're in the room now with the
Whole world.
representatives of the colonizers and
Who have the serve?
you realize that humanity, because it's a moral, it's like the what you call it now, the people is like watching the Ten Commandments movie. You understand? Where you see the people building the pyramids and squeeze up and you understand? And the fear and the wealth and then they don't want to let the people go because then who is going to do the work? And Moses had to appeal to play God,
I don't want to burst your bubble though, vaccine, but that's a made up story.
No, it's an allegory tale because I'm telling you.
Yeah. Same thing, a made up story.
It's not a made up story. It's
That's
something
what-
that
that's
was
what-
going
that's-
on like what is going on now.
No.
Because the people have power,
Of course,
Because you
people have power.
outnumber. Listen, it's like the slave rebellions or whatever they say couldn't done. You understand? And then something happens, right? Something critically happens, and then you say a negotiation go on, and them say, all right, well, we have to.
Yeah, well, it's a discussion for another time. But as I said, it's a made-up story.
Yeah, well,
right?
we are making up one right now.
It's the story of the King James Bible.
No, I don't want you to get with that part. I'm talking
Well,
about.
that's what I'm saying. That's a story.
The lessons are relevant. That's the point Maxine is making.
Eh?
I think the point Maxine make is not about the factuality of the thing, but that the lessons from this, the thing is relevant to now.
Yes.
Yeah, because the black people and their representatives are in the room with the white people and their representatives. Why are they in the room? Why is the power so absolute that no one has to be in the room? Like I can just do what I'm doing and you can just go on.
Because that's where the dictate comes from. The dictator don't bring you to the table.
You bring them to the table.
Huh?
The people have the power.
I'm not following you, Maxine. No. You're saying in the UN meetings, you have both the oppressor people and the oppressed people, correct?
Right, negotiating.
They're in the same room negotiating for an agreement.
For an agreement based on moral wrongs, because I guess 25 years ago in Durban, certain points were put across. You understand that you have been and you gain this amount of wealth and you're doing all of this, and we here you take away wealth and this and that and that and that, right? Why are we in the room? Why are we negotiating?
Well, here's the thing, Maxine.
Because the negotiation, Maxine.
Right? Here's the thing you have to consider to your question now. The UN today is a fraction of what it used to be or what it was intended to be. It has been watered down tremendously.
The thing is
that's
this.
Not what she's saying, though, you know, Patrick.
That's not what she's saying.
The thing is this.
The thing is this. You have to consider.
The negotiation, Maxine, we're trying to come to an agreement to show that there is a moral reason why these two sides can talk.
Yeah, but John.
Yeah, because all right, you know that one of the biggest problems for the colonizers, and we have it in Jamaica too, is that they recognize that their populations are falling rapidly below a level to ensure their future.
That's a big concern in Europe.
Yeah.
It's a big concern in Jamaica.
Yeah, that's a big concern in the US.
But
it's a big concern in the US.
It's a big concern everywhere, including China. Them just say the people.
Can I say something?
But you know which population is growing leaps and bounds?
India.
Africa.
Yeah.
It's the largest growing population in the world.
Yes. And it has the highest number of young people.
70%.
Yeah.
Right.
So so that's what I'm saying, you know, about Moses and the Pharaoh.
But Maxine, can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
The problem. I don't
understand. Hold on, sorry, lass. Maxine, when you jump to Moses now, you're confusing me because I'm not a parable man. I like to hear things straight. Where you tell me what you mean, and I tell you
first
what
of
I
all,
mean.
Are you familiar with the story of Moses and Pharaoh?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't understand the parable in the context that we are. In the context
Pharaoh knows that he's in trouble. You understand? And he's looking favor by letting the people go.
Okay.
Right? So there's something that's not going right with Pharaoh and his world.
Correct. But all of them, when a workforce go on strike, every owner and boss know that there is a problem.
Right.
When them say strike and them say other things, them say the thing getting unruly, that they don't have the control anymore. So the negotiation in today's world, the people who never had a voice have a bigger voice now. And that is what the UN is doing. The UN is allowing for a discussion of this sort because it cannot be hidden under the rug. Because too much of the oppressed people are now in charge of countries, and countries are what represent the UN.
But here the problem with that, John. The problem with that is that the UN might be trying to give representation to the voices, right? But the United Nations cannot give the kind of access that the people who have the representation at the table need. Because what is happening at the United Nations and what is happening right throughout the world is that the richest people and the richest countries are controlling more of the resources across the world, and they have the say. So even when the problem with the United Nations is that even when they give you a voice at the table, that voice at the table cannot ensure that you have any power or control over anything. It gives you a voice, but it can't give you power. And that is
Correct.
what we see. That is what we see acting out with the issues in Gaza, in
Correct.
Lebanon,
So let me
But
right,
answer
in
that.
Venezuela, where a lot of countries them have a voice, but they cannot influence the direction of certain moral decisions
You know
because
why?
the
You
issue,
cannot
the issue,
determine.
the
You
but do
issue is
you
not
no,
know?
about
yeah.
morality. The
But
issue
do
is
Yes.
you
not
So
know?
about morality. The issue is about power and who
Right.
can get
it's
things
also
done.
about
And the problem
morality.
Maxine raised is that yes, then put you in a room to talk with some big people who can influence the outcome of things and you can influence it.
What I'm saying to you, the League of Nations and the United Nations and all of these associations are created because the colonizers are at war with each other.
Right.
Okay? So it's not a unitary force of people that is the pharaonic um allegory tale is to realize that these people, because I grew up in the United States to a certain point. Every day you hear us sing some we find a shelter. You know, this is a this is a test. This is a test of the emergency warning system. You understand? Because I know I grew up for a certain amount of years thinking that Russia and America are going to bomb the world out of existence. The Cold War or whatever war they spoke about. You understand? So these people that are the oppressive, whatever they are, they're also in heightened competition with each other. That is why this whole thing exists. You understand what I'm saying? It is not a stationary anything. Right now, I don't even know what's going on with them over there now. You understand what I'm saying?
It
Russia,
is
China,
it
India.
is a it is a
Huh?
competition of the 1%. It's not a competition of all the
That
little
is
people.
the
It is the
opportunity to be in the
1%.
room.
It is the 1% who is competing against each other in the United States and right across the world.
Well,
Okay.
that,
Then,
I
folks,
don't know, I'm just pushing it out. You
folks,
understand to say that this is the type of world. There's nobody that is in charge because even the people in charge are looking to eliminate one another.
Well,
folks, folks.
yeah, 6 o'clock.
we are coming to the end
Okay.
of the discussion, and I really hope you all enjoy it and listeners enjoy it. Maxine, you talk about the United Nations thing you're involved in a number of times. Can we discuss that on Sunday?
Okay,
Because I
yes, we
think
can.
people would be interested in finding out what this thing you're talking about. Okay, so for next Sunday we'll have you talk about what is it?
Reparatory justice.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
For African descendants all
All over the world.
yeah. Mhm.
So you'll come Sunday with all information and
Right, and I'll try to get a guest for next week as well.
okay,
That's also attending the.
okay, folks.
It's still going on. It's still a going.
No, it ended.
Right, but like the Brazilian guy, you couldn't get him to, or him gone back to Brazil.
No, they've gone back, but I'll figure it out because
Yeah,
they
man.
want to promote the.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Folks, I want to thank you all for a very informative discussion. I know we clarify number of issues for folks who are listening. And for those of you who are listening, I want to urge you to like up the site. Press the like button, share this with your friends and families and your enemy if you have any. So we're gonna see you on not until next Sunday at 4 o'clock. Last week we decided that we'll meet on Sundays.
We
Before we,
always meet on Sundays. You
At
mean
4.
we meet at 4?
at 4 o'clock on Sundays. That's what I said. Right?
Like him are drinking up.
We're gonna take a little vacation and
All right, hear me. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, Coach. Until next week, stay strong and walk good.
All right, sir. Yeah.
All right, my brother. Cool.